Welcome back to On the Timeline. I'm Emma Connelly.
And I'm Samantha Vassallo.
And today we're talking about untimely celebrity deaths.
We wanted to just start off by saying, rip to all these people. They were fantastic celebrities and fantastic people, and we're not trying to make a joke out of this. Just some of these deaths have a lot of weird, conspiracies, but we're not trying to spread any rumors or start anything, crazy with it, so, yeah.
So, to start off, I think is probably the most famous, most talked about celebrity death, and that is Princess Diana. So, a little background on Princess Diana. If you don't know, she was the daughter of John Spencer and Frances Shawn Kidd. She was born in 1961. Diana's parents divorced whenever she was young. She went on to get an education, and actually she became a kindergarten assistant teacher, which I think is really sweet, and it goes to show, her personality. She really cared about kids, and she cared about people.
She cared about her kids a lot.
For sure.
Yeah.
They were, so important to her. Mm-hmm. And then July of 1981, she married Prince Charles, who's now King Charles, as Queen Elizabeth passed away.
Yeah.
So she married Charles, and then they had Prince Harry and Prince William. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've all heard about Prince Harry and Prince William. We don't need to give you an education on them. But then in summer of 1996, Diana followed in her parents' footsteps and got a divorce with Charles at about the same time that her parents divorced when she was young. She was known for being super classy and fashionable. Mm-hmm. She was such an icon with the outfits that she wore.
The revenge dress. Girl,
she
go.
Always ate it up.
She
ate. Was so slay.
She ate.
And she worked on humanitarian issues, did tons of philanthropy. She wanted to show her children that you should take care of other people. Yeah. And she fought so hard for the AIDS epidemic in the 80s and went to other countries and did all she could to help other people. It really showed she had such a good character. But a lot of people were jealous of her. And there were a lot of rumors of a lot of people being jealous of her. But we won't get into that quite yet. So in 1997, Princess Diana had just recently been divorced, and she was actually dating a film director. And they were riding in a car together, and the paparazzi were swarming the car, taking tons of pictures, and they got in a horrible car accident. After that, there were so many conspiracies that different
relatives... She passed away in the car accident. You forgot to say that she passed away in the car accident, unfortunately.
Yes, and so did the driver.
So did the boyfriend.
They all... But there were so many conspiracy theories that people paid the paparazzi to wreck the car. People paid the driver to wreck the car. That it was actually she planned it. She planned her own. There were so many conspiracies. So they did a formal investigation, and it actually came out that the driver of the car, whose name was Henry Paul, was actually under the influence of alcohol and illegal substances at the time. So it was a drunk driving situation, and he was charged.
Oh.
So that kind of breaks down all the conspiracies of it. But even with that, now movies, TV shows, books, essays, everything written about that death, people trying to come up with reasons that it wasn't just a drunk driving incident.
I feel like it is so important. I read the Prince Harry book, and hearing it from his perspective, I feel like I had more of appreciation, or not an appreciation, but a will to be hey, disregard the conspiracies. Somebody's parents actually, somebody's mom actually died, and somebody's sister, any people died, and I feel like it is so rude to just leave that to conspiracy theories when the driver was drunk or high or whatever, and that's so sad in my opinion.
So keeping with the royal theme, our next untimely celebrity death is actually Prince, the pop singer. So, not the royal family, but still a king in his own right. So, Prince, his name is actually Prince.
Okay.
So, his name is Prince Rogers Nelson. He was born June 7th, 1958. So, honestly, if this untimely death hadn't happened, he'd probably just be a normal middle-aged guy. So, as a teenager, he played in bands with his friends, and then in 1978, when he was 20, he signed his first record deal with Warner Brothers, and in that same year, released his debut album, For You.
Ooh.
Nearly every year after that, he released a new album. He's one of the most produced artists. He has so many albums, which is really cool because most artists now only put out an album every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, he put out albums
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess it just came from him.
It must
So he had many hit songs, including Raspberry Beret, When Doves Cry, Purple Rain, dozens more. And then his hit song, Let's Go Crazy, which kind of has an eerie hint to his death. April 21st of 2016, Prince passed away.
Yeah.
And he actually had a drug overdose in his house.
No.
In the elevator.
In the elevator?
They found him in the elevator of his house.
That's weird.
But apparently he had hip injuries, and so he had started taking opioids for the hip injuries, hence why he had an elevator.
Yeah.
But he got an opioid addiction, and he overdosed on fentanyl.
That's so sad.
So it was really sad that, like, it came to that. And 58 was kind of like, or 57, he was 50s, 57.
Yeah.
That's kind of young to have bad hip problems and, like, that kind of thing.
To start off, I'm going to be talking about Betty White. Do you know Betty White?
I know Betty White. I love Betty White.
I
love Golden Girls.
I know. So Betty White was born January 17th, 1922, and she started acting in the 40s, and she was instantly a hit. She was a huge comedy actress. She worked on shows like The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and most famously, Golden Girls. She did get, like, a revamp in popularity in the early 2010s because she was in a Super Bowl commercial, and, like, everybody loved her. So she actually became SNL's oldest host ever. Her other achievements include, like, being SNL's oldest host. She had her own show. She has multiple Emmys. She even has a Grammy for her audiobook. Oh my gosh, and she was inducted into the Television Academy Hall of Fame in 1995.
So deservingly.
Yes. But why was her death shocking, you may ask? Well, actually, it's because she died only a few weeks before her 100th birthday. So she died, unfortunately, on December 31st, 2021. And it was just, I think, natural causes, I believe. Don't take me on that.
I think it was. I think she was just old.
Yeah, I think she was just old. But the crazy thing about this is that People magazine decided to do, like, a whole, like, big, like, Betty White's turning 100. And so on December 28th, her Twitter account posted a quote saying, quote, "My 100th birthday, I cannot believe that it's coming up, and People magazine is celebrating with me. The new issue is available on newsstands nationwide tomorrow." And literally, like, 2 days later, she was dead, unfortunately. So People magazine, like, received a lot, and I mean, like, a lot of backlash from a lot of people.
It's really not their fault, though. Like, she agreed to do the interview. Like, she didn't think she was going to die.
But they shouldn't have published it 2 weeks before.
Yeah, they should have waited.
They should have waited. And so, People's Magazine editor-in-chief Dan Wakeford actually said a statement to Variety because of the amount of backlash that they were getting and said, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the news of Betty White's passing. We are honored that she recently chose to work with People to celebrate her extraordinary life and career." And
it's a nice statement.
It's a nice statement, but I feel like they definitely, like, messed up there for sure. For sure. And then last and our most recent celebrity death, unfortunately, is Matthew Perry.
Oh, this is heartbreaking.
Matthew Perry was born on August 19th, 1969, and obviously, as we just said, he was most famous for his role in Friends as Chandler Bing. He also started in a couple other things like Fools Rush In and The Whole Nine Yards, but nothing will ever, I feel like, amount to his role in Friends.
Didn't he say soon before his death that he hopes people remember him for more than Friends?
Yes, unfortunately. Matthew Perry actually struggled with addiction for most of his life. That was kind of like, it was like Friends and his addiction were kind of like the two, I would say, most prominent things that people would always talk to him about. He told the New York Times in 2002, quote, "I was the guy who wanted to become famous. There was steam coming out of my ears. I wanted to be famous so badly. You want the attention, you want the bucks, and you want the best seat in the restaurant. I didn't think what the repercussions would be." And he had been to rehab multiple times after that, unfortunately, in both 1997 and 2001. And most recently, his, like, biggest thing was that he wrote a book called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, which talked about friends and also addiction. But unfortunately, on October 28th, he was found dead in his LA home in his hot tub. And there were no signs of foul play originally, but his body was taken to the coroners, and they said that the cause of death is unknown. So they're going to have to do a lot more investigation.
But didn't they say there was no drugs?
Yes, they did say that there were no drugs found on the scene of the crime. So rip to Matthew Perry. You were a real friend, man. A real friend.
That was the timeline on untimely celebrity deaths. For SGTV, I'm Emma Connelly.
And I'm Samantha Vassallo.